If the brakes on your car stopped working, you'd probably pay to get them fixed. It might be expensive, but that's nothing compared to the cost of totaling your car, right? It's a no-brainer. Well, is that a fair analogy for addressing climate change now instead of putting it off? I'm Dan Riskin. Changing the way we do things to become carbon neutral will cost a lot of money. So from a financial perspective alone, it's worth asking, is it worth the investment? That's the question posed by the European Central Bank. In a 91-page report peering 30 years into the future, they performed an economy-wide stress test. They took data from 2.3 million companies linked to 1,600 European banks in the Eurozone and predicted outcomes for them under 3 different scenarios. Scenario 1, stay the current course. Abide by the Paris Agreement. Make expensive economic sacrifices now to limit climate change to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. That's the road the international community has already agreed to stick to. Scenario 2, do less now. Save some money, but freak out in a decade or so when things start getting hairy. And those later adjustments, of course, will need to be more drastic and more expensive. In the third scenario, do nothing. Just let it go. Bring on climate change. Well, under that first scenario, the report predicts that there will indeed be less profitability and higher risk of default over the next 5 years or so as companies feel the strain of carbon taxes and upgrading technologies. But 5 years! After that, those investments already start paying off because there would be less money spent mitigating disasters and fewer shutdowns because of flooded factories, displaced workers, or defaulted banks. And looking ahead 30 years, the profitability of businesses is much higher if we stick to the Paris Agreement, 20% better than the second scenario and 40% better than the third. So the take-home message from the European Central Bank is that from a purely financial perspective, addressing climate change aggressively right now is the most prudent way forward. For ctvnews.ca, I'm Dan Riskin.